Welcome. Namaste. If you haven't watched the introduction to Yin Yoga to manage emotions, please watch that first so that you understand the purpose of this practice and why it is effective. This sequence is to manage the emotion of worry. In Chinese medicine, worry is associated with the spleen and the stomach. The spleen meridian runs through the inner leg line up into the torso, into the spleen. The stomach meridian runs through the front of the torso, down the front of the legs, and down the front of the foot. So we'll begin with a wide-legged child's pose. And you may like to use a blanket, as your knees may be going a little wider than your mat, so you have some padding under your knees. Bring your big toes to touch and your knees as wide as they're willing to go without forcing. And then extend your arms out in front of you, letting your chest come down, resting your head. If you need any support under the chest, you can roll up a blanket or a cushion, place it under your chest so that there's less weight in your head and shoulders. Either way, make sure that most of the weight is back in the legs and that your hips are sinking down towards your heels. Welcome. Namaste. If you haven't watched the introduction to Yin Yoga to manage emotions, please watch that first so you understand why it is effective. Welcome. Namaste. If you haven't watched the introduction to Yin Yoga to manage emotions yet, please watch that first. That will help you to understand why this practice is effective and when it's not. This practice will help you to deal with worry, incessant thinking about what may or may not happen in the future. In Chinese medicine, worry is associated with the spleen and the stomach. The spleen meridians run through the inner leg line up into the torso and into the spleen, which sits just next to this and behind the stomach. The stomach meridian runs from the torso down the front of the legs into the feet. We'll start with a wide-legged child's pose. You might like to use a blanket for this to have a little padding under your knees as your knees may go wider than your mat. So spread your blanket out. Bring your big toes to touch and your knees as wide as they're willing to go without forcing. Now walk your hands out and let your head come down to the floor. Now if your head doesn't touch the floor easily, place a rolled up blanket or a cushion under your head. You could also use a cushion under your chest. This way there's a little less weight in the shoulders and the head. Either way, make sure that most of the weight is back in the legs and that the hips sink down towards the heels. Of course, they don't have to touch. Give yourself a moment here to settle in. So you want to have the knees nice and wide so that the inner leg line is gently being pulled on to stimulate flow of chi through the spleen meridian. And resting the forehead gives a gentle pressure on the space between your eyebrows that will stimulate relaxation in the body. So allow yourself to soften. To imagine that you could melt into this shape. Relaxing your jaw, your shoulders, belly. Imagine that through the forehead where it is touching the ground, your thoughts could flow out of your mind and into the earth. You could imagine, visualize, maybe even sense the thoughts flowing out of your mind into the earth, allowing the earth to recycle your worry. Maybe this flow of thoughts leaving your mind has a color or a sound. imagine that your mind empties completely. There is this spaciousness in which there is only an awareness of this moment as it is unfolding. And take one more nice deep breath here. Bring your hands under your shoulders to come up. And then instead of sliding the knees, help your knees together with your hands. Lean to one side to bring the legs out in front of you. And you could extend the legs as you lean back onto your elbows. Just giving the legs a moment to stretch out, to let the chi flow settle. And then bring your hands down to come up. Half saddle pose will affect the top of the leg to stimulate flow through the stomach meridian. If this shape is not accessible for you because of a challenge in your knee, I will give you a variation, so please don't stay there and I'll show you what to do instead. You may like to have a cushion or bolster behind you, leaning a little to your right to fold the left foot next to you. So you're sitting on the inside of the left foot. And then you could stay up right here. Or maybe lean your elbows back on that cushion. Or possibly lie all the way back on the floor with your head resting on the ground. So your choice. Finding a position there where you can feel relaxed without any stress in your body. And if this is not available to you, if this is not an appropriate position, instead come onto your belly in Sphinx pose, where you bend your knees and bring your feet together. So that would be an alternative where you allow the spine to hang, your feet up. Or you could also do this where your lower legs are resting against a wall, so you have some support. Other shape. See if you can relax. Soften your body. Just noticing sensations in the leg, the left leg or both legs if you're on your belly. Notice your hands. Are they warm or cold? Notice if there's a difference between your right and your left hand. And notice your feet. Are your feet warm or cold? Is there a difference between your right and your left foot? Taking 2 more deep breaths here. If you're on your elbows or further back, engage your abdominal muscles. Press into your hands to come up. Lean to your right and help your left leg to straighten out. If you're in the Sphinx pose on your belly, you can stay in the Sphinx but just straighten out your legs for a moment. Pausing to notice the effects of this shape. And lean a little to your left if you're doing half saddle pose, folding your right foot back next to your right hip. Leaning back either onto your hands, maybe onto your elbows onto a cushion or all the way to the floor. If you're in the Sphinx pose on your belly, bend your knees again, bringing your feet up, resting them together. And then just for a few rounds, can you inhale through the nose and then exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Let's repeat that a few more rounds. One more like that. Deep breath in. Exhale through the mouth. Coming back to your natural breath. Again, can you imagine your mind as a wide, big, blue, open sky without any clouds? Lots of space. Two more breaths here. half settle pose and engage your abdominal muscles, pressing into your hands to come up. If you're in the Sphinx pose, just straighten out your legs and lower your chest. Help your leg out in front if you were in half settle. And then you can calm lie down on your back. If you were in the Sphinx pose, you can simply roll over, resting your head. Noticing how your body feels right now. Can you feel an enhanced flow of blood and chi in your legs or your lower back, or notice where in your body you can feel the effects of the shape you were just in. And bend your knees. Slide your hips a little bit to the right. So knees stay where they are, just the hips a little to the right. Bring your knees towards your chest. Keep your knees close to your chest as you lower them to the left into a spinal twist. Keeping the knees close to your chest compresses the abdominal area a little bit more, so it affects the stomach and the spleen. You could have the left hand resting on your right leg or have both arms extended to the sides at shoulder height. If you feel a strong pull around the right outer hip and lower back, then use a prop either between your knees or underneath both knees. Head can be in any direction that feels comfortable for your neck. And allow your belly to be soft. Relaxing your feet and your legs, shoulders, your face. And then repeat this invitation, these words inside your mind as you breathe in, I am. As you breathe out, here. Inhale, I am. Exhale, here. I am. Here. I am. Here. Just continue to repeat that with your breath. To release these words, take one more breath. And then bring your right knee up, place your foot on the floor, then bring the right leg up, sliding hips back to center. Pausing for a moment to notice the difference between your right and your left side. And then slide your hips a little bit to the left, just the hips. Bring your knees up towards your chest and over to the right. And this side may be different, so if you need a prop between your knees or underneath your knees, please use it. So you're not overstretching the lower back or the outer hip. Relax the legs, belly, arms out at shoulder height. Right hand can rest on your left knee. Relaxing into this shape. Breathing in and breathing out. You could even repeat that inside your mind. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Repeating these words a few more times. Releasing the words. Can you only notice the breath as it flows in and out? Take 2 more deep breaths. Take a nice deep breath in. Exhale through your mouth. Bring your left foot on the floor, lifting the left knee up. And the right knee, foot on the floor. Slide your hips back to center. Bring your feet wider than your hips, knees together. Noticing how your body feels right now, how your breath is. Carefully roll to your side. Pressing into your hand to come up to sit. If you can, sitting on your heels. Just to finish up the stimulation of the stomach meridian, or sit in any other way. Closing your eyes just for another moment. Noticing, how is it now? What has changed? Can you feel your body, your breath? Notice the spaciousness of your mind. As you bring your hands together, let's offer our practice and the benefits thereof to all living beings on the planet, so everyone can live in without worry. Namaste. Thank you so much for practicing. May it be of benefit.